think it's just right. It's just I just love the whole extra time.
Well, it's
I'm so sorry, I wasn't sure because I
I was driving. So I couldn't respond.
usually I put it in.
Because I just asked him, like, just to Jackie.
I'm saving energy, I'm not giving you I just want to have my documents.
My travel outlet.
I didn't know that either, I assumed you did. And I can see more about there.
Sorry, so when can I have your in writing, like, if you want to install these things before?
Yeah, I love that.
Why are you watching me? It's seriously, I can't just tell you. I can't believe it's rage at one word to you. I know.
Morning, everyone. Morning, everyone.
I'll tell you tomorrow when I can let it out. It's alright.
If everyone can please take your seats.
You have company.
Welcome to the board meeting, New York City Housing Authority. We will begin in about 2 minutes. During that time, I would like complete silence as tech will be testing the volume, etc. on the system. In addition, you might notice there's a photographer taking photos, so we will be doing that during these 2 minutes at least, so please act natural. Enjoy. Still be silent. Thank you so much. 2 minutes begin now at 10:05. Okay, good morning again. Morning. Vice Chair, board members, interim CEO, staff, and members of the public. I'll just remind everyone to please silence your cell phones and any other electronic device that you may have with you. If you're a presenter, please speak directly and loudly into the microphone, also ensuring that the light is green on the microphone. Thank you for your cooperation. Vice Chair, there are no members of the public wishing to provide comments. As such, we will proceed with the regular calendar. The first order of business is a motion to adopt the minutes of the regular meeting held on May 24th, Wednesday, May 24th, 2023. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Seconded by?
Second. We'll call it.
Thank you. Member McCoy. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? Thank you so much. Vice Chair, would you like to provide any comments?
No, just, well, yes. I was gonna say no, but yes. I just wanna say, it's the beginning of summer. We have all this stuff coming in from Canada still. Be very careful out there. Make sure you listen to the news, so you're not in the park and all of a sudden you get engulfed with a cloud. And enjoy the summer and, really, we'd like to see you back in September. But have fun in the meantime.
Okay, I just want to remind everyone there is a July board meeting.
I know.
Okay.
It's August that we don't come in. Got it.
Interim CEO, would you like to provide any remarks?
Yes, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm very excited to be here. This has been a really wonderful week for NYCHA. I have two great announcements. The first is that on Tuesday, we closed the Edenwald property, over 2,000 apartments, one of our largest pact, our largest pact closing ever. So I just want to thank, in our gallery, we have members from the real estate team, members from the legal team, members from Department of Communications. Everyone pitched in to help get this to the finish line. And we're just really, really excited to see what comes next for the tenants at Edenwald. So congratulations to everyone who worked on this project. Second, as many of you probably saw, amazing press regarding Fulton, Elliott, Chelsea, and the amazing opportunities that we have there, driven by an incredibly robust resident engagement process. And it's so great to see residents, our TA leaders, really excited about the possibilities of what can happen. The opportunity for them to be able to live in new buildings with modern amenities, buildings that are sustainable, buildings that are accessible for mobilely impaired individuals. And, the press around this has been really, really wonderful. But I wanted to point out this morning as I was coming in, I read Errol Lewis's article in New York Magazine entitled "A Make or Break Moment for Public Housing in New York City." If you haven't read it, you really should. Change is very hard. The status quo is also very hard. And we are at a pivotal moment here at NYCHA, and we need to use every opportunity, every creative solution that's out there. There's no one-size-fits-all approach. So what's going on at Fulton, Elliott, Chelsea might not work at Stapleton or West Brighton or New Lane or Jackson. So we can't pigeonhole the possibilities. I know that I am very excited. I know members of our NYCHA team are very excited. I know some of the board members are super excited. I know the administration is excited. And I just look forward to what's next. So thank you.
Thank you, CEO. We will now proceed to the calendar items 1 through 21. Because of the withdrawal of 3 items, the numbers have changed, so I will just indicate item 1 is Jeffrey, item 2 Carly, 3 and 4 Barbara, 5 and 6 Keith, 7 through 11 Maria, 12 through 16 Erenice, 17 Siobhan, 18 through 21 Joy. Item 1, Jeffrey.
Good morning, board members, interim CEO, chief operating officer. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Jeffrey Lesnoy. I'm the vice president and controller of New York City Housing Authority, and I will be presenting resolution number 1. Authorization is requested to approve the issuance of the authority's fiscal year 2022 audited annual financial statements presented in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the U.S. and is recommended by the authority's Audit and Finance Committee. In compliance with the Audit and Finance Committee Charter, adopted pursuant to Board Resolution 21-4/28-2, and is subsequently amended by Board Resolution 22-1/26-15. The authority issues a complete set of audited annual financial statements comprised of basic financial statements and required supplementary information. The basic financial statements consist of the statements of net position and related statements of revenue, expenses, and changes in net position, and the statement of cash flows, along with the related notes of the financial statements. Required supplementary information includes, but is not limited to, management's discussion and analysis, which is a narrative overview and analysis of the authority's financial activities to be read in conjunction with the basic financial statements. Management is responsible for the presentation and fair presentation of these financial statements. An audit was performed by Deloitte & Touche, who provided their unmodified opinion that the authority's basic financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects. I will now highlight some of the major drivers to the 2022 financial results. First, the authority adopted governmental accounting standard GASB 87 for leases. We implemented this in 2022 and restated 2021 financial statements for GASB 87. GASB 87 establishes a uniform approach to lease accounting based on the principle that leases are financings of underlying assets. The impact from the lessee perspective was a first-time recognition of $824 million of right-to-use capital assets and a corresponding lease liability. This relates primarily to the office leases the authority has entered into, including but not limited to 90 Church and Long Island City. The impact from the lessor perspective was a first-time recognition of a $25 million lease receivable and a corresponding deferred inflow of resources. This relates primarily to various storefront leases at the NYCHA developments. Revenue and recognition and expense recognition are both changed in terms of timing and line items on financial statements. For example, we now have amortization of right-to-use assets and interest expense on the financial statements, where formerly this was just plain rent expense. There is no impact on actual cash flow, but there are presentation changes on statement of cash flow. As a result of the 2021 restatement, there was a $23 million reduction in net position. The second item, the key driver that I'd like to present, is rent collections. Rent collections have dramatically declined over the last several years, with a baseline in 2019 of $1,058 million, declining to $873 million in 2022. So almost a $200 million decline. As a result, tenant arrears increased from $111 million at year-end 2019 to $439 million at year-end 2022. Beginning 2021 through 2023, NYCHA supported 128 million rental assistance applications for about 33,000 households through the New York State Emergency Rental Assistance Program, also known as ERAP. During the open application process, the state identified that public housing tenants would be placed at the lowest priority funding tier, and initial funding was exhausted by applicants in higher priority categories before the state was able to reach applications from public housing tenants. However, on May 2nd, 2023, the New York State Legislature passed a budget bill which will cover the authority's ERAP applications, as well as an additional $35 million to support tenants' rent needs. Due to this new information, this has resulted in a $116 million reduction in previously recorded allowance for doubtful accounts. Additional reductions to the allowance for doubtful accounts is expected in 2023. The third driver I'd like to discuss that affects the financial statements is the pollution remediation obligation for lead-based paint. Lead-based paint obligations increased from $3.1 billion in 2021 to $3.7 billion in 2022. New York City Local Law 66, effective December 1, 2021, defines lead findings at 0.5 milligrams per square centimeter, which is stricter than the prior New York City 1.0 milligram standard. Under the new standard, we are required to test substantially all units at move-out. In addition, NYCHA has initiated a program to aggressively test and abate all units which house children under 6. So through end of April, 18% of the apartments have been retested under the 0.5 milligram standard. And as of now, 35% of those tested units have been identified as positive for lead versus only 27% using the old standard. So we have a large increase there. As a result, estimated cost increased by $765 million, which is the primary driver for the 2022 special item within the financial statements. Also note the HUD agreement with SDNY and the city, executed in 2019, includes $2.2 billion commitment from the city over a 10-year period to assist NYCHA in meeting various obligations of the agreement. Included within is $772 million allocated to lead abatement as per approved action plan. Such funding, though, will be recognized as revenue in future years on a cost reimbursement basis. So this differs from the pollution remediation obligation, which needs to be recorded all up front. All 20 years of costs are on the balance sheet to stay in that position. So with that said, now I'll provide a summary of the financial statements, reminding you that 2021 was restated due to GASB 87 requirements. The authority's operating revenues in 2022 was $1,062 million, a $74 million increase over 2021, primarily due to the $116 million reversal of previously recorded allowance for doubtful accounts due to ERAP funds approval. The authority's operating expenses in 2022 was $4,735 million, a $372 million increase over 2021, primarily due to $133 million growth in housing assistance payments through Section 8, due to an increase in both number of vouchers and dollar amount per voucher. And this was partially offset by increases in Section 8 housing choice voucher subsidies. Also increasing expenses was the general and administrative expenses, which increased by $212 million from last year, largely due to an increase in pension expense as a result of reductions in pension plan investment income, and also due to an increase in future claims expectations within the self-insured general liability program. The authority's subsidy and grant revenue in 2022 was $3,252 million, $130 million increase over 2021, of which $113 million increase relates to public housing subsidy increases, $61 million increase in Section 8 housing choice voucher program increases, and $52 million increase in City of New York subsidies. This was all partially offset by a drop relating to the CARES Act, where we had $57 million in 2021 and zero in 2022 because the program expired at the end of last year, at the end of 2021, I should say, and a $42 million reduction in federal capital funds used for operating purposes. The authority's 2022 loss before special items and capital contributions was $481 million, as compared to a $263 million loss in 2021. The biggest single driver of this increased loss was the operating expense increases, which were not fully offset by increases in subsidies and operating revenues in 2022. The special item during 2022 was $721 million of cost and $649 million of cost in the prior year. And both of these numbers relate entirely to incremental lead paint remediation and abatement costs under pollution remediation obligations. Capital contributions during 2022 were $806 million, increased from $758 million in 2021. In 2022, the largest sources of capital contributions were $302 million from Federal Capital Fund, $228 million from FEMA, $180 million from City of New York. Net position at December 31st, 2022 is $1,203 million, which is a decrease of $396 million from prior year. This decrease results from the net of the loss before special item and capital contributions of $481 million, plus a special item cost of $721 million relating to lead, and less the capital contributions of $806 million. Cash and investments in the aggregate were $1,284,000,000 at December 31st, 2022. A $354 million decrease in prior year, largely due to continuing shortfalls in rental collections versus billed, growing expenses, and timing differences in reimbursements from FEMA and the city. So with that, I have covered noteworthy topics and transactions affecting the financial results for the year ending December 31st, 2022. And I have provided to you a full set of financial statements within the briefing memo. Authorization is now requested to approve the issuance of the authority's 2022 audit financial statements. With that said, I'll take any questions.
Okay, there are no questions. Thank you,
All right,
Jeffrey.
thank you.
Item 2, Holly.
Good morning. My name is Carly Hoffman, and I'm a senior project manager on the transactions team in the real estate development department. And I'll be presenting item number 2. We are seeking board approval relating to the pact conversion of 983 units across 7 developments in the Union Avenue and Forest consolidations in the Bronx, which I will collectively refer to as Union Avenue Consolidated. We first came to the board for this conversion in September 2022 when we sought board approval to submit the initial applications to HUD. We are now coming back to the board to request authorization to seek the final HUD approvals and enter into documents necessary to close on the pact conversion at Union Avenue Consolidated later this year. As mentioned, there are 7 NYCHA developments in the Union Avenue Consolidated pact conversion, which are itemized in the board materials. Through NYCHA's pact program, NYCHA seeks to convert developments from Section 9 funding to project-based Section 8, which is a more stable source of federal funding. We do this using HUD's Rental Assistance Demonstration Program, known as RAD, and by partnering with a team of private and nonprofit developers, general contractors, property managers, and social service providers. In May 2021, NYCHA issued the PACT Round 10 Request for Expressions of Interest, or RFEI, for the PACT conversion of 4 projects. Union Avenue Consolidated was one of the 4 projects included in the RFEI. The other projects will be presented later this year. NYCHA conditionally selected a PACT partner team for Union Avenue Consolidated in September 2022 after a competitive evaluation of the 3 proposals received. The PACT partner is made up of the following groups: Omni New York LLC, the Archer Companies, and DeBar Development Partners, which is a minority-owned company. The property manager Progressive Management, the general contractors Renewal Construction Services LLC and Chateau GC LLC, and social services providers Presbyterian Social Services, Acacia Network, and South Bronx Overall Economic Development. Upon receipt of our initial RAD application, which was authorized by our prior board resolution, HUD issued its initial approval for the transaction through its commitment to enter into a housing assistance payment contract on January 27th, 2023. At closing, NYCHA and the PACT partner will enter into a housing assistance payment contract, also known as a HAP contract, which will be administered by the authority's leased housing department. The transaction remains subject to HUD's RAD and Section 18 approvals, which are required prior to transaction closing. New York City Deputy Mayor of Housing and Economic Development issued a letter of support for the proposed transaction in September 2022. Recapitalizing and rehabilitating Union Avenue Consolidated is anticipated to cost approximately $363 million. HDC will oversee the financing of the transaction. NYCHA will rely on HDC's sponsor review process in lieu of an independent vendor name check. HDC's sponsor review is in process and will be completed prior to closing. The final transaction budget is subject to approval by NYCHA and HUD. Regarding the project scope of work, a capital needs assessment, or CNA, will be completed. The CNA assesses current needs and serves as an update on the content in NYCHA's current physical needs assessment, or PNA. NYCHA will approve the scope of work and confirm that it addresses all items in the PNA and CNA. The scope of work will be finalized before closing and will be presented to residents before construction starts. The scope of work generally includes work addressing needs in interior units, hallways, lobbies, mechanical systems, and on building facades, among other items. In terms of resident benefits, Union Avenue Consolidated residents will benefit from a comprehensive renovation of their homes and from HUD's RAD resident protections and affordability restrictions. They will also have the same basic rights as they do under the public housing program. The resident benefits are itemized in further detail in the board materials. The authority and the PAC partner have met with residents and will continue to engage with residents throughout the process via meetings and written notices. NYCHA and the PAC developer have held 5 meetings at the site since designation in September 2022, and residents are advised of their ability to access Legal Aid Society's hotline to discuss questions regarding the conversion. In terms of resident hiring, the PAC partner has provided a hiring plan that outlines labor hours and training opportunities and other economic opportunities, the details of which are provided in the board materials. We are anticipating that the PAC conversion will take place later this year and will work with our partners to ensure the transition is as smooth as possible. Thank you, and please let me know if you have any questions.
There are no questions. Thank you, Carly.
Thank you.
Before we move on to items 3 and 4, Board Member Wolf, I understand you may be leaving before the formal voting on the items. So I will ask do you approve all 21 items?
I do, but I hope to be here for most of it.
Okay. Thank you.
Now you've ruined the suspense.
Your approval of the 21 items is so noted for the record. Thank you so much. Barbara, items 3 and 4.
Good morning. My name is Barbara Brancacho, and I am the NYCHA Department of Communications Executive Vice President and Chief Communications Officer. And today I will be presenting items 3 and 4. The 2 contracts for approval today will bolster our existing network of language services, which includes our language services unit comprised of 6 full-time NYCHA interpreter translators and a coordinator as well as vendors. Calendar item 3. NYCHA is requesting authorization to enter into an agreement with Language Line Services for interpretation and translation services commencing on July 1st, 2023. These services will begin with an initial 1-year and 6-month term and will have a 3-year and 6-month renewal option. The contract is not to exceed $1.5 million for the duration of the 2 terms. LLS's Section 3 hiring plan was approved under the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development Rule, Labor Hours. LLS indicated on its Section 3 hiring plan that the total projected labor hours is 37,500 and Section 3 projected labor hours is 0. Please let me know your questions.
Well, can you add the economic opportunity on this one?
Yes.
Interns?
LLS is committed under OEO to provide paid internships to 1 marketing intern and 1 IT intern. These paid internships will be offered to be remote and nationwide positions and will be working with marketing and technical teams. NYCHA issued an RFP in 2021 to expand its ability to provide translation and interpretation services. The services provided by this vendor will include in-person and virtual consecutive and simultaneous interpretation services as well as translation services.
Okay, if there are no questions, you can proceed to 4.
No? Calendar item number 4. NYCHA is requesting authorization to enter into an agreement with Language Services Associates for various language services commencing on July 1st, 2023. These services will begin with an initial 3-year term and 2 1-year renewal options to be renewed automatically. The contract is not to exceed $1.5 million for the duration of the 2 terms. LLS's Section 3 hiring plan was approved under the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development Rule Labor Hours. LLS indicated on its Section 3 hiring plan that the total projected labor hours is 280 and Section 3 projected labor hours is 70. NYCHA issued an RFP in 2021 to expand its ability to provide translation and interpretation services. The vendor will provide consecutive interpreters, simultaneous interpreters, American Sign Language interpreters, and video remote interpreters. Written translations may also be requested by NYCHA. Language Services Associates will translate from English to the covered languages, Spanish, Chinese, traditional, Chinese simplified, and Russian. Additional languages that may be required include but are not limited to Arabic, Bengali, French, Haitian Creole, Korean, Polish, Urdu, and Yiddish. The types of documents typically translated include but are not limited to resident letters, forms, applications, notices, standard procedures, pamphlets, flyers, posters, robocall and audio scripts, handwritten correspondence, and press releases. Please let me know your questions.
No questions, thank you, Barbara.
Thank you.
Items 5 and 6, Keith.
Morning. My name is Keith Grossman, Executive Vice President of Operations Support Services, and I'm here to present item number 6. Good morning, board members. Item number 5, excuse me. It's very emotional. Welcome, class. No, item number 5 is a contract capacity increase for Alliance Elevator Company. The increased amount is $3,497,500. Total labor hours 4,800. In the section, I'm secretary. What's the section 3 is what percentage of this contract?
1,200.
1,200. Okay, thanks. 1,200. I'll have to print out on my desk. Apologies. Scope of work. And just so this requirement contract provides for the installation of REMs for passenger elevators. The scope of work includes, but is not limited to, furnishing all labor, materials, and equipment necessary for the installation of REMs for 200 passenger elevators and authority developments. Nice. You're my hero. Thank you. Pursuant to Board Resolution 21-5 and 26-13, the notice to proceed was issued for a 2-year term which commenced on July 26, 2021 and is continuing through July 25, 2023. This contract capacity increase is required to meet the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development requirement of installing REMs on 70% of the authority's elevators by the end of 2024. Alliance has agreed to install an additional 99 REMS units at various authority developments. Additional funds are needed to complete this additional assigned work. Without the additional funds, the authority will fail to comply with HUD's requirement, and this contract capacity increase is required to increase the not to exceed amount. In order to fund the additional assigned work during the remainder of the initial 2-year term and 1-year renewal options, VNC is not required. Item number 6 is a authorization of a contract capacity increase to the agreement with Intech 21. It is a $1,300,000 increase, and there are 2,513 labor hours and 628 of which are section 3. Thank you. Pursuant to this agreement, the authority Intech provides the authority with software and hardware support and maintenance services of the authority's CHAZ. The scope of work includes but is not limited to software and hardware maintenance upgrades. CHAZ integrates control from multiple manufacturers to a centralized software platform. It provides 24-hour boiler room alarms for emergencies and outages, including flood, loss of power, and low pressure. It provides map alerts and email notifications to our key heating personnel. In addition, CHAZ provides remote monitoring to pane settings, plant operating pressures, and zone valve openings. This system provides various exception reports, including history. This technology plays a critical role and the authority's ability to ensure proper heat and hot water operation remotely. Under this agreement, Intech software and hardware support allows for the provision of the following services: real-time monitoring and notification of the CHAZ's hardware and boiler equipment alerts, extended warranty service and device replacement plans for boiler room equipment, extended warranty service and device replacement plans for energy management modules installed in apartments, firmware updates on specific equipment to standardize the platform, software support for all local servers, and software support for the central server. Intech manufactured both the software used by the authority for CHAZ and the hardware used to connect the individual heating control equipment to the authority's CHAZ network. Intech is the sole manufacturer of approximately 99% of the authority's CHAZ software. No other vendor has a license to interface with CHAZ. Therefore, Intech is the only vendor that can continue to provide necessary services for the authority to maintain the system. Pursuant to award of this agreement, which did not require initial board authorization, the notice to proceed is issued for a 2-year term, which commenced on November 15th, 2021, and is continuing through November 14th, 2023. The authority has been utilizing CHAZ to remotely monitor boiler room operations since 2008. This contract capacity increase will support the heating management and service department's efforts to ensure the operation of the equipment on automatic settings, which supports the capacity to provide heat and hot water to authority residents. In addition, Intech has been utilized to make repairs to heating control valves in efforts to restore automatic operations. There have been 2 prior contract capacity increases for a total amount of $875,000. This contract capacity increase is required to increase the not to exceed amount in order to fund the continued provision of services during the remainder of the initial 2-year term and the 1-year renewal option term. The VNC is not required. Any questions?
Okay, no questions, thank you. Keith, Maria, 7 to 11.
Good morning, board members, colleagues. I'm Maria Manfredi, Vice President of the Procurement Department. I will be presenting items 7 to 11 on behalf of NYCHA's Chief Procurement Officer, Sergio Neke, for your consideration. Item number 7 and 8, seek authorization to award 2 indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contracts with the Sherwin-Williams Company and Mercury Paint Corporation respectively, in the amount of $5 million each for the purchase and delivery of paints and supplies to any authority development citywide. These are 3-year contracts with 2 1-year renewal options to be exercised at the authority's sole discretion. Through these IDIQ contracts, the authority guarantees to order a minimum value of $25,000 and is under no obligation to order more than the minimum value, but may order no more than $5 million. These contracts provide capacity for the reliable delivery of paint and supplies. The competitive solicitation received 6 bids and 3 lowest responsive and responsible bidders were deemed viable for award. 2 awards are being presented on this calendar. 1 award to Menkos Corporation DBA Gleason Paints is being evaluated, and if deemed viable, the award will be presented to the board at a later date. Vendor for item number 7, the Sherwin-Williams Company, has provided approximately $340,000 worth of materials for the authority over the past 5 years. A vendor name check dated September 28, 2022 was approved by the Procurement Ethics and Vendor Responsibility Unit, citing no issues to preclude award and that the vendor is deemed responsible for a contract award with NYCHA. Vendor for item number 8, Mercury Paint Corporation, has provided NYCHA with approximately $8.3 million worth of materials over the past 5 years. A vendor name check dated September 13, 2022 was approved by the Procurement Ethics and Vendor Responsibility Unit, citing no issues to preclude award and that the vendor is deemed responsible for a contract award with NYCHA. Given these contracts are for goods, Section 3 plans are not required. Therefore, the Supply Management and Procurement Department respectfully recommends that the members approve the awards of these contracts to the Sherwin-Williams Company and Mercury Paint Corporation for the purchase and delivery of paint supplies. Are there any questions?
Proceed.
Okay. Item number 9 seeks authorization to award an indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contract with Moju Studio LLC in the amount of $5 million for the purchase and delivery of plastic laminated wood doors to any authority development citywide. This is a 3-year IDIQ contract with 2 one-year renewal options to be exercised at the authority's sole discretion. Through this IDIQ contract, the authority guarantees to order a minimum of $25,000 and is under no obligation to order more than the minimum value, but may order no more than $5 million. The competitive solicitation received 6 bids, and Modu is the lowest responsive and responsible bidder deemed viable for award. Modu Studio LLC has provided approximately $4.7 million worth of materials for the authority over the past 3 years. A vendor name check dated May 25th, 2022 was approved by the Procurement Ethics and Vendor Responsibility Unit, citing no issues to preclude award and that the vendor is deemed responsible for a contract award with NYCHA. Given this contract is for goods, a Section 3 plan is not required. Therefore, the Supply Management Procurement Department respectfully recommends that the members approve the award of this contract with Modu Studio LLC for the purchase and delivery of plastic laminated wood doors. Any questions? Okay. Item 10 seeks authorization to ratify the award of a contract with CAP Inc. DBA CAP USA in the amount of $3,202,474 for the purchase and delivery of automatic voltage regulators, also known as AVR units, for the authority's elevator systems to any development citywide in the Long Island City warehouse. This is a 2-year contract with 3 one-year renewal options to be renewed automatically unless the authority provides written notice of its intent not to renew prior to the expiration of the contract term. The approval to award this contract prior to board approval was received by the Supply Management Procurement Department from the Chief Procurement Officer on March 24, 2023, and this contract was awarded on March 29, 2023. The competitive solicitation received 3 bids, and CAP Inc. is the lowest responsive and responsible bidder deemed viable for award. CAP Inc. has provided approximately $2.5 million worth of materials for the authority over the past 5 years. A vendor name check dated March 7, 2023 was approved by the Procurement Ethics and Vendor Responsibility Unit, citing no issues to preclude award and that the vendor is deemed responsible for a contract award with NYCHA. Given this contract is for goods, a Section 3 plan is not required. Therefore, the Supply Management Procurement Department respectfully recommends that the members approve the award of this contract with CAP Inc. DBA CAP USA for the purchase and delivery of elevator AVR units. Any questions?
Proceed.
Okay, final item, number 11. Seeks authorization of a contract capacity increase to a requirement contract with Petson Building Supply Inc. in the amount of $1,178,246.27 for the purchase and delivery of metal lath and accessories to any authority development citywide in the Long Island City warehouse, in order to fund the continued provision of services during the remainder of the 3-year term, which commenced on December 17, 2020 and is continuing through December 16, 2023. This contract capacity increase is required due to an ongoing increase in demand for metal lath and accessories used in the plastering trade. There has been 1 prior contract capacity increase for a total amount of $1 million. Petson Building Supply Inc. has provided approximately $2.1 million worth of materials to the authority over the past 5 years. Given this contract is for goods, a Section 3 plan is not required. Therefore, the Supply Management Procurement Department respectfully recommends that the members approve the contract capacity increase to this requirement contract with Petson Building Supply Inc. for the purchase and delivery of metal lath and accessories. Any questions?
Thank you, Maria.
Twelve through 16.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Berenice Tavares. I'm the Vice President for Property Housing Operations for the Borough of Manhattan. And today I will be presenting on behalf of Property Housing Operations citywide. I will be presenting items 12 through 16. Please note that all items are for contract capacity increases. The first item seeks authorization of a contract capacity increase to the IDIQ agreement with J&H Electrical Contracting in the amount of $1,091,510.26. This contract provides for electrical services. The scope of work includes but is not limited to furnishing of all labor, material, equipment, issuance of incidentals required to perform the electrical services, which include the installation and/or repair of wiring and electrical piping, motors, controls, switches, outlets, fixtures, on an as-needed basis. This emergency IDIQ agreement is for time and material costs and eliminates the need for the creation of numerous small procurement contracts to address electrical service repair requests while a replacement contract is being procured. Also, this IDIQ agreement provides the authority the ability to provide timely electrical repairs to authority residents. Pursuant to award of this emergency IDIQ agreement, which did not require initial board authorization, the notice to proceed was issued for a 2-year term which commenced on February 4th, 2022 and is continuing through February 3rd, 2024. This contract capacity increase is to provide electrical services for developments in the boroughs of Queens and Staten Island. There has been one prior contract capacity increase for a total of $492,999.96. A vendor name check was not required. Any questions? Item 13 seeks board authorization to an emergency IDIQ contract in with Ecosystem LLC in the amount of $774,358.90. This IDIQ emergency contract is for janitorial services. This,
Is that 13?
that is 13. Is it not?
13 is with Rubens Group for bricklayer services.
Well, I had that as 14.
Good thing you're here.
Okay. This has the changes, because they changed the numbers?
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
So 13 is Rubens.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
90 percentile right now.
Authorization is requested to approve contract capacity increase to the emergency agreement with Rubens Group for bricklayer services, which do not require initial board authorization for an initial 2-year term, one year renewal option to increase the not to exceed amount in order to fund the continued provision of services during the remainder of the initial 2-year term, which commenced February 4th, 2022 and is continuing through February 3rd, 2024. Any questions? Okay, item 14 seeks authorization for capacity contract increase to the emergency IDIQ contract agreement with Rubens Group.
It's the same vendor, yes.
Authorization is requested to approve contract capacity increase to this emergency IDIQ contract with Rubens Group for carpentry services, which did not require initial board authorization and has subsequently amended for an initial 2-year term with 1-year renewal option to increase the not to exceed amount in order to fund the continued provision of services during the remainder of the initial 2-year term and the 1-year renewal option term, which commenced February 8th, 2022 and is continued to February 7th, 2025. Any questions? Item 15 seeks authorization of a contract capacity increase to the requirement contract awarded to Arrow Steel, Inc. Authorization is requested to approve a contract capacity increase to this agreement, contract awarded to Arrow Steel for repair of exterior compactor refuse management systems authorized by Board Resolution 22-525-13 for an initial 2-year term with a 1-year renewal option to increase the not to exceed amount in order to fund the continued provision of services during the remainder of the initial 2-year term, which commenced on October 26, 2022, and is continued through October 25th, 2024, in the amount of $1,168,720.07. Any questions? Item 16 seeks board authorization for contract capacity increase to this IDIQ contract with agreement with Ecosystem LLC. Authorization is requested to approve the contract capacity increase to the emergency IDIQ contract with Ecosystem for janitorial maintenance services, which did not require initial board authorization for an initial 2-year term with 1-year renewal option to increase the not to exceed amount in order to fund the continued provision of services during the remainder of the initial 2-year term with a 1-year renewal option term which commenced February 4th, 2022 and is continuing through February 3rd, 2025 in the amount of $774,358.90. Any questions?
No questions. Thank you. Are you done?
Item 17.
No, you do not, unless you wanna.
It ends there?
Okay.
I'm a little,
Thank you.
the numbers changed, so I'm a little
Yes.
thrown off.
Not a
Thank
problem.
you.
Thank you, Berenice.
Thank you.
Item 17, Siobhan.
Thank you. Good morning, board members. I'm Siobhan Watson, Deputy Director of Sustainability Programs within the Asset and Capital Management Division. I'm here to present on item 17, in which we respectfully seek authorization to award a contract to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, Stephen Dubner Landscaping Incorporated, in the amount of $4,954,500 for green infrastructure construction at South Jamaica houses. The project was developed by the Department of Environmental Protection in collaboration with NYCHA to protect South Jamaica houses and the surrounding community from the impacts of flooding due to extreme rain. Extreme rain events, known as cloudbursts, are happening with more frequency in New York City. Designing spaces where large volumes of rainwater can be temporarily stored in the landscape allows us to keep our residents and buildings safer. The scope of work includes, but is not limited to, excavation of the existing play area and replacement with a sunken basketball court and tiered seating, which overlays a subsurface stormwater retention system. Other features to be constructed include 2 vegetated bioretention assets flanked by architectural stone seating and an interior walkway with new lighting and benches. Designs were completed by Hazen and Sawyer for the Department of Environmental Protection, and the construction is being funded by DEP. However, funding for construction was transferred to NYCHA, and NYCHA is managing the construction so that our residents can benefit from the Section 3 requirements that come with NYCHA contracts. We received 8 bids for the work, 6 were deemed responsive. Stephen Dubner Landscaping Incorporated submitted the lowest responsive bid with a 7.4% budget variance. This is Stephen Dubner Landscaping's first project with NYCHA, but the firm has significant experience working with other city agencies, including the Department of Parks and Recreation and the School Construction Authority. They also have experience working on catch basins and water retention infrastructure. Their references were checked, and representatives that worked directly with this firm, both from Parks and the Hudson River Trust, provided excellent reviews of the firm. Section 3 and MWBE plans were approved. The company committed to a minimum of 1,875 labor hours being performed by Section 3 employees out of a total of 7,500 hours, and expects 3 labor jobs will be made available to residents with on-site job training provided. The vendor name check was approved on June 15th. Any questions?
Thank you. Is this the first of this type that we're doing?
Yes, we have a longstanding green infrastructure program that has done assets that are a little bit less prominent than this one, but this is the first one that's being done to manage higher volumes of rainwater on NYCHA
Which
property.
sounds terrific. Are there multiple ones in process with DEP paying?
Yeah, so we have actually 17 more projects that are the smaller type to really manage combined sewer overflows that'll be coming to a board meeting in a couple of months. We also have 5 more cloudburst projects that we are gonna be starting design on. You'll be seeing the design resolution in the July board meeting for those. And those are funded by a city allocation that was done as part of the extreme weather task force after Hurricane Ida.
Excellent. And I assume, I'm just picturing it in my mind, that it looks better when it's over. In other words, it's aesthetically improved
Yeah,
too.
the idea with these projects is to be able to use the stormwater investment to also upgrade the experience of the campus for NYCHA residents.
That's fabulous, that's great, thank you. Yeah, it's great.
Thank you, Siobhan. And Joy, 18 through 21.
Thank you. I'm Joy Cinderbrand, Senior Vice President for Capital Programs, and I'm subbing for Oliver Osterlund. Thank you. I'm subbing for Oliver Osterlund, and I will quickly bring you to your project. Item 18 seeks authorization to award this contract to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, Fidelis Contracting Inc., for roofing replacement and rooftop structure renovation at Bryan Avenue East, 174th Street, in the amount of $1,798,265. The scope of work includes, but is not limited to, removal and replacement of the existing roofing system and related work, including asbestos and lead abatement. The contract term duration is for 7 months and 28 days, and of the 2,380 total estimated hours, 600 will be Section 3, which is 25% of the overall. Item 19 seeks authorization to award this contract to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, EchoStar Construction Inc., for roofing replacement and rooftop structure renovation at Baruch Houses Addition in the amount of $1,591,270. The scope of work includes, but is not limited to, removal and replacement of the existing roofing system and related work, including asbestos and lead abatement. The contract term duration is for 8 months and 27 days, and of the 1,600 total estimated labor hours, 400 are Section 3, which represents 25% of the overall.
Proceed.
Item 20 seeks authorization to approve one contract capacity increase to the IDIQ job held by WDF Inc. for roofing replacements at Worcester, Site C, 589 Amsterdam Avenue, and College Avenue East 165th Street, for a not to exceed amount of $7,500,000. The revised contract amount will be $12,500,000. The scope of work includes, but is not limited to, roofing replacement and/or repair and ancillary work on an as-needed basis. ANCM has determined that utilizing this IDIQ job is more time efficient than a conventional construction bid process and should be used to perform the additional work to meet the city funding obligation deadlines. The duration for this IDIQ contract is 2 years, with an option to extend for 2 one-year periods at the authority's sole discretion. The contract term commenced on April 24th, 2020, and has been extended for a second and final time through April 23rd, 2024. Because this is a contract capacity increase, a vendor name check is not required, and WDF will be hiring 3 Section 3 employees. Finally, item 21 seeks authorization to approve one contract capacity increase to the IDIQ job held by Adams European Contracting Incorporated for roofing replacement at Douglas Addition and Teller Avenue East 166th Street for a not to exceed amount of $8 million. There's been one prior contract capacity increase for $14,500,000, and the revised contract amount will be $37,500,000. The scope of work includes, but is not limited to, roofing replacement and/or repair or ancillary work on an as-needed basis. ANCM has determined that utilizing this IDIQ job is more time efficient than the conventional construction bid process and should be used to perform the additional work to meet city funding obligation deadlines. The duration for this IDIQ contract is 2 years with an option to extend for 2 one-year periods at the authority's sole discretion. The contract term commenced on October 14th, 2021, and is continuing to October 13th, 2023. Because this is a contract capacity increase, a vendor name check is not required. Of the 6,290 total estimated labor hours, 1,573 are Section 3, which represents 25% of the overall. Thank you.
Joy, I'm sorry, did I interrupt you? So is this a new location, cause the increases, I mean, the 37 million can't be all for this one location?
These are for entire projects using a job contract for the scope of the mayor's roofing program.
But when it talks to the location being the Douglas Addition and Teller Avenue, it's more than just that one location. Is it not?
It's two, it's Douglas Addition and Teller Avenue, East 166th Street.
So those two,
Two locations, the roofs of those two locations,
total
8 million.
37 million.
No, they total 8 million.
8 million.
8 million, so that was my, I didn't ask it well. We added a new location to a contract we already had.
We have an existing IDIQ job contract, we're
Okay.
adding work at these two locations using that job contract for the
Got it.
entirety of the loan business.
So the original one we would have seen would have been for other locations.
The original one you would have seen was been
Citywide.
for various locations.
Got it, thank you, that's what I thought, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Joy, appreciate it. Vice Chair, 21 items were presented for approval. May I have a motion to approve 21 items?
So moved.
Seconded by,
Second,
who was that?
Raymond Hill.
Miller? Thank you so much, all in favor?
Aye.
None opposed, thank you so much. Vice Chair, being that all matters before the board today have been addressed, may I have a motion to adjourn this meeting? Anyone?
Move to adjourn.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair, seconded by?
Second. McCord.
Seconded by? McCoy. Thank you, board member. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed, thank you so much. The recorded end time is 11:04. Thank you all. The next NYCHA board meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, July 26, 2023 at 10 a.m. in person. See you then. Thanks all.
Thank you. I was looking at wedding pictures, so I was like, are you good? How was your mom?
Yeah, Siobhan wants it. She's supposed to give us both meeting tomorrow. I feel like it wasn't strong enough. I think so, right?
Considering